Hi, and welcome to another episode of What to Say podcast, where you can learn what to say. I'm your host, Dr. Julee Hafner. I am a communication strategist specialist. I work with people to help them improve their communication skills, everything from body language to things in business in your personal life. So today I'm so lucky. I have a professor, a linguist, a communication expert, and all around good egg. Welcome, Melissa. And I'd like to have you start by just giving us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to talk a little bit about communication. So for those of you, welcome to the podcast. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, thank you so much. It's absolute pleasure being here with you. My name is Melissa Glossop. I have a very robust background. I started out being inspired by in communication by doing animal therapy with Alzheimer's patients while I was in high school. I moved into education and communications and linguistics in graduate school because I had the opportunity to be an assistant to an autistic child in a preschool classroom. So I became fascinated. How do we engage with our environment? How do we engage with one another? Which ironically led to a career in sales. I was in management for Dior Cosmetics. Then I continued as a professor of communications. I specialized in adult learning, going back to college to advance their professional acumen and move forward in the corporate environment. Then I met my amazing husband. He had an incredible idea, and for the past few years, we've been launching a technology communication company that focuses on safety and biometrics in the workplace. So, quite robust.
It sounds like that's why I know you and I have a lot in common because we've done a lot of things. That's not to say that we're old by any means.
No.
Um, I'd like to talk communication, of course, because that is part of your wonderful background. Tell me what you feel is the most important communication skill that a business person can have today.
Listening is paramount. That is the number one component of success, in my opinion. I believe that far too often, whether you're a CEO or a salesperson, no matter what chain in the rung you are, I think by being able to listen, you can internalize and you can problem solve more effectively. I find that too many people speak to speak or speak to sell, and they don't tap into the opportunity to uncover what the actual problem is. Sometimes you have to listen even deeper than what the person is saying. And if you can develop the skill of listening, I believe you could be 7 times more successful than when anyone starts out.
Super. And I would highly agree. We've had some other podcasts on the skill of listening, which I think is super important. And it's not just hearing, it's like you said, internalizing, making sure that you understand. And would you agree that clarification to make sure that you have processed that information, that message from the other person well is what is also a big part of learning and listening?
It is, and it takes it to that next level because if you clarify what the person that you're speaking with, it not only validates to them that they are being heard, but it can either increase the trust level between you and the person you're speaking with, or it can sort of diffuse if it's coming from a point of anger or if there is a misunderstanding. It can go either way, but both plays into the fact that by listening, by clarifying and restating, you are validating
Mhm.
uh, the emotional state or the desire of that individual.
And as you probably know, Sandler was a wonderful guy that did a lot of sales training. And one of the things he is noted for is his expression, people seek to be heard and understood. So that's a real important part of it. You know, we can hear, but if we don't internalize, if we don't process, if we don't do all those things, we can have a real problem. Would you agree that people are so busy listening to figure out what they want to say before doing anything else. Like I'm thinking, I gotta get that my answer. So I haven't heard half of what you've said.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that we're constantly trying to construct the perfect answer or the perfect comeback, that we actually miss our mark entirely because we respond to respond, and seem smart or seem intelligent or seem like we know the most about our product.
Mhm.
That is not necessarily what matters most. To make sure that you're connected, people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care, and I think that
Okay.
sometimes creates that
That's it.
relational capacity.
And that's an oldie but a goodie. I mean, we
Hmm.
see it from John Maxwell. He says it, but actually, we all know that it was actually a teacher that said it. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, for those of you that have heard that before, go back to its roots, which is give credit where credit is due. What I want to know, what was one of the biggest communication mistakes you've ever made, and how did you solve it? Personal or professional, whatever you want to share. I'm collecting how do we solve some of our communication mistakes, because we all make them. We all misspeak, or we all, say things we don't want to say, and how do we fix, and how do we repair those? Because I think that's an important issue too.
I think my biggest mistake communication wise came across through developing a pitch strategy, or the way to connect my company to investors. And I
Mm,
think what I focused on more, I was so concerned because we were creating a new industry, we were creating a new product. It was so important for me that people understood the what, that I forgot entirely about the why. So
mhm.
the way that we formulate our message is entirely important to how we communicate and get across. And if we're not connecting to what the other person wants to hear,
Mhm.
then we are going to miss our opportunities to then get deeper into the conversation and have that follow-up call or the opportunity to meet again.
Yeah, I would very much agree with you, because you need to create trust, you need to create connection, and if you can't do those things in your communication, and that's all about not only your why, but it's their why. So there's two parts to that why. Just because you have a why doesn't mean that they're going to connect to it. So that's a really
And
important point.
ironically, it points back to listening. I think that if you are in sales, you should ask more questions. In fact, the person that you are selling to should monopolize the conversation more. That way, you truly know how to connect your position to what the other person needs and wants.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And can you elaborate a little bit more about the communication connection with people of, since you're a linguist, I have to bring this in. And I wasn't planning on asking you, but now I'm dying to know. What do you feel is important about speaking a second language in the English community here, where we speak, or Americans? How do you feel that foreign dialect speaker is impacted by their communication, or their communication difficulties? As a linguist, I want to hear that answer too, because again, background is important. You got so many good things. You're just chock full of information, and I like it.
So, the number one thing about communication, no matter how many languages you speak, boils down to body language.
Mhm.
And that is many times universal, but there are certain elements that are niche to different backgrounds, races, countries, etc. So you have to be aware, especially if you're doing international business.
Mhm.
Language, as far as the accent, as far as precise words, I think that again, creating that relationship, those things can fall away if you're building that trust,
Mhm.
if you're building that interest.
Mhm.
Confidence can
Yeah.
overpower any accent or miscommunication with words.
Mhm.
And I believe that through continuous development, I think that you have to have the desire to improve and the desire to communicate. And with all of those four elements, anyone could be successful. Even if you've got two businessmen and or women meeting that maybe don't speak a single word of each other's language. Maybe you're communicating through a translator, but I think the intention, the purpose, the body language, and the sincerity and authenticity can transcend any sort of cultural barrier.
Oh, sure. I would totally agree. And as you know, I wrote a book and a workbook. I'll have to show it to you because it's sitting on my desk. I mean, I wasn't planning on even talking about this, but there it is. The workbook and the book, 7 Tactics to Communication Completions, is really exactly that. It's a look-see at what skills, talents, and abilities can you build and develop. And there's a lot of activities and exercises to do that. But would you agree that people that are in business that are foreign dialectal speakers limit some of their economic ability? I mean, yes, they're able to be as personable as anybody else, but would you say that they don't maybe make as much money or maybe get passed over for promotions? Would you say that that's a possibility? Because I know the statistics are there, so that's why I'm asking that.
Absolutely. I think it's twofold. I think that fear of engagement eliminates from those individuals potentially raising their hand for the promotion, for the opportunity, for the collaboration. Second of all, I believe if someone is in that situation, I believe coaching can really empower someone to forego the fear, to raise their hand more often. And I think the more that you engage in cross-cultural engagements, that you increase your confidence, I think that would reduce the stress level. And I believe that by minimizing and empowering yourself to reduce your accent, to learn additional communication tactics and skills, I believe that there is no bar on where someone could build their career. So I think that we as individuals often become our greatest barrier to our own success.
Yeah, I would really, Melissa, I would really agree with that. I think people want to participate, want to connect. And I know just like a person coming to America has some difficulty with the language. I've traveled a lot. I'm sure you have too.
Yes.
I know I spent an entire day or two in China with people that didn't speak any English. I think we were in Thailand, and I got put, because I was the only American, I got put with Chinese people. So, the body language is different, the connection. But I ended up connecting somehow, some way, and ended up riding an elephant with a Chinese lady. So don't ask me. You just never know what will happen if you open yourself up, if you get the coaching, if you get the skill building, if like you are a professor, if you take those classes that you need to take and get the coaching, get the books, get the materials that you need. And I think that's super important. But again, listen, go through the steps, plan, think yourself through, and don't be so willing to come up with an answer to something that the conversation may not be going to anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really beautiful, and I can't wait to have the opportunity to see your book and workbook. I know it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, thank you. It is out. I'll tell you, it is out on Amazon. So there it is. There it is. Both of them are available on Amazon. So if they've been out for a little bit of time, so I'm glad to have that out. And they can contact me and connect with me on the What to Say podcast@gmail.com if they have questions or concerns. Melissa, I'd like to have you take just 2 seconds to give your contact information if anybody was interested in learning a little bit more about your new company, because I think it is very valuable, and I'll maybe have you back on because I love technology and how it impacts my life, which I can't handle. So, but I do actually understand what you're doing. So would you give your contact information if anybody wants to talk to you about your company?
Absolutely. So again, I'm Melissa Glossop, and the company is Cost Technology. We are online at www.costtechfms.com, and it's melissa.glossop@costtechfms.com. So if you just Google Cost Technology, you can find me quite easily. We're the only one online.
I did that, and it works like a charm. Absolutely wonderful. I want to thank you, Melissa, for being on my podcast. I'm going to wind this up by saying I'm Dr. Julie. I am a communication expert, author, and coach to help you get your communication in line, help you listen better, help you do a lot of things. And if you want to connect with me, again, what to say podcast at gmail.com. I am under Dr. Julee Hafner on all the social media platforms. Please feel free to connect with me. I'm always looking for something good and interesting to add to our show. Thank you so much again. And if you or someone you know is working on their communication and they want to know something about it, they always have to know what to say. Join me next time, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much.